Long before our modern history, there was a time when Earth was truly balanced. Back then, the divine female and the divine male were never in opposition. Think of them as two wings, keeping the same great bird perfectly steady in the air. The divine female was truly the very heart of the earth itself. She embodied intuition, compassion, and the raw power of creation. This was the deep knowing that lives right inside our bodies and the wisdom of the waters. Meanwhile, the divine male served as the mighty sword of the earth. He represented focus, decisive action, and the sacred commitment to protection. He possessed the sacred will necessary to literally move mountains when guided by pure love. Together, they created a living, breathing harmony, not a hierarchy. It was never about one being above the other or one attempting to rule the other. It was simply, perfectly, balance. But we all know that balance is exactly what eventually got broken. Since the legendary fall of Atlantis, our planet's story has been marked by an ancient wound. This wound involved the sacrifice and heavy suppression of the divine female energy. When that great civilization finally collapsed, a fundamental choice was made in our collective field. Humanity, as a whole, fell right out of its heart and deeply into its fear. And it was within that pervasive fear that a specific distortion was unfortunately born. This distortion became known as the false male. It's important to understand that the false male is absolutely not the true sacred masculine. The true masculine stands gracefully beside the feminine, offering unwavering protection and upliftment. He receives her wisdom, just like the sun gratefully receives the horizon at the first light of dawn. But the false male presents a very different mask, one built entirely on control and domination. This corrupted energy thrives on separation and is fueled by underlying constant fear. It constantly projects the lie that true power means being physically above everyone else. It insists that any hint of vulnerability is just an unforgivable sign of weakness. It dismisses deep intuition as absolute nonsense and treats the heart like a massive liability. The core mantra of this false energy is simply to conquer, consume, and win at absolutely all costs. When this false masculine energy eventually took a dominant hold, the divine female was forcefully pushed underground. Her ancient temples were tragically burned, and her prophetic voices were systematically silenced. Furthermore, her profound wisdom was actively ridiculed by those in power. And this cultural suppression did not just happen to women, it affected feminine energy in absolutely everyone. That sensitive part of you that feels things deeply, that nurtures and loves without needing to own, became dangerous. It became dangerous in a world that suddenly started operating strictly on the false male's rigid rules. Even the magnificent Earth herself deeply felt this profound and terrible imbalance. The living rivers were suddenly treated as mere resources, not as the actual living veins of the planet. The ancient forests were categorized as inventory waiting to be used, not as our true guardians, and the rich soil itself was treated like a simple product, rather than the actual body of Mother Earth. When the divine female was violently sacrificed, it is clear that Mother Earth was sacrificed right along with her. And so, for millennia now, we have all been walking through a world that feels incredibly dark. It's a world where ongoing war is somehow normalized and accepted as routine. It's a world where relentless greed is still frequently rewarded, and any genuine tenderness is shamefully dismissed. It's a world where people are constantly taught to climb over each other just to feel remotely worthy. We're taught to numb our actual emotions just to be perceived as strong or tough. And we learn to distrust our own inner compass, our own deep, personal knowing. In this paradigm, many people are technically alive, but very few are actually and fully living. That right there is the long and painful legacy left by the reign of the false male. But now comes the crucial part of this entire story that the darkness simply never planned for. The divine female energy, the core essence, absolutely cannot be truly killed off. She can certainly be buried deep, actively demonized, or loudly mocked. Her wisdom can be forcefully rewritten right out of the history books we use. However, she fundamentally remains within the living body of the earth herself, and she remains inside the physical body of every single soul who has ever touched this planet. She waits patiently within the deep oceans and within our own circulating blood. She lives in the quiet moments when you suddenly feel everything without a clear explanation why. She has been quietly waiting through the rise and fall of countless empires. She waited through all the brutal ages of colonization, conquest, and the terrible burning times. She endured the wars, the massive industrial age, and even the confusing digital one. And now, in this very specific time, in this very lifetime, she is finally rising up again. This return of the divine female isn't just some catchy slogan or a fleeting aesthetic trend. It is a profound rebalancing happening across the entire energetic field of existence. You can feel this shift in how people are getting tired of the endless hustle culture, and you can sense it in how hungry everyone is becoming for genuine meaning and purpose. You can feel it in the breakdown of all those old systems built only on extraction and domination. And most intimately, you can feel it in your own body when your old coping mechanisms finally stop working. The returning divine female whispers a simple message: come back to your heart. She calls us to return to our physical bodies and connect back to the living earth beneath our feet. She reminds us that we were simply never meant to live this whole existence without her presence. She is that powerful part of you that can actually sit with pain instead of constantly running from it. She is the knowing that rest is sacred and that stillness is a profound act of strength. She recognizes that comforting someone who is crying is just as powerful as any grand battlefield victory. She holds the inherent truth that every being, human, animal, plant, or stone, carries the same divine spark. Restoring her energy doesn't mean we need to destroy the masculine entirely. It means we are finally called to heal the masculine energy that has become wounded. The divine female does not rise up to replace the male. She rises to gently remind him of his true nature. She reminds him that real strength has absolutely nothing to do with domination over others. True strength is standing guard over what is inherently gentle and deeply true in the world. Real strength is about actively protecting life, not carelessly exploiting it for personal gain. As she rises within the hearts of women everywhere, she simultaneously rises within the hearts of all men too. This includes the men who feel genuinely lost in a world that taught them to shut down their feelings and call it manhood. These are the men who are now remembering they are allowed to be protectors, not just aggressive predators. They are remembering that their tears do not weaken them at all. They actually serve to cleanse and clarify. This entire process we are witnessing right now is what we call the great turning point. The false male energy is still desperately clinging to the last scraps of its perceived power. You can see this clinging evident in corrupt governments, in ruthless corporations, and in repeating cycles of abuse. But underneath all that surface noise, something much older and profoundly deeper is starting to move. The divine female is standing back up, not as a victim seeking angry revenge. She is standing up as a mother, finally remembering all of her scattered children. She is calling the true, healed masculine energy back home to stand beside her. And with him, she is calling this entire struggling world back into its proper balance. Yes, it has been incredibly dark since the original fall of Atlantis, however you sense or remember that story. But the darkness, no matter how deep, was honestly never meant to be the final word spoken. The beautiful Earth herself is, after all, still here, enduring. She still sings her ancient song right through the whispering wind and the constant rhythm of the waves. She continues to grow vibrant, living flowers right up out of fields of former ruins. She sprouts entire new forests out of what seems like nothing but ashes. And most importantly, she generates new generations from the deepest of old wounds. And inside every single one of us, whether you identify as male, female, both, or neither, the divine female is that core part of you that refuses to ever give up on the possibility of love. When you actively choose gentleness in a world that feels cruel, that energy rises up in you. When you choose to listen to your own intuition, instead of all the fear-based noise, she rises. When you consciously stand up for vulnerable life, for the weaker ones, and for the earth herself, she rises. The false male built a whole world where the human heart was constantly viewed as a dangerous liability. But the returning divine female is now building a completely new world where the heart is the very foundation. This is not going to be an instant, sudden shift. It is a very long and meaningful act of remembering. But if this message resonates and you are hearing this right now, you are absolutely a vital part of this monumental shift. You are a fragment of that original, sacred balance, now waking up inside a timeline that tried to erase it completely. And simply by remembering the divine female within your own being, honoring your softness and your intuition, you are actively helping to rewrite the very story that began when Atlantis tragically fell. This current dark age is absolutely not the final chapter of our story. It is merely the long tunnel through which the light is now finally beginning to walk. The divine female is no longer a sacrifice to be made. She is decisively returning, she is fully remembering, and she is powerfully rising. And through you, and through all of us together, she will help the earth finally remember herself too.